Good afternoon, and welcome to today's CMAA product demo, Eliminate the Project After the Project, with Brian Haynes and Davis Ferguson of Kahua. We will be using the question and answer box for today's presentation. If you have any questions during the webinar, please enter them into the box, and the presenters will answer them either during the presentation or at the Q&A section at the end. Kahua is a leading platform for asset-centric project management and analytics software for the government, healthcare, education, commercial, and energy sectors. The platform helps owners and contractors improve efficiency, reduce costs, and manage risk across the project lifecycle. A longtime strategic partner with CMAA, we thank Kahua for their partnership and for being here with us today. With that, I will pass it over to Brian and Davis.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Davis Ferguson. I'm a solutions consultant at Kahua. Basically, that just means I'm a little more on the technical side. I do a lot of our product demonstrations. Before coming to Kahua, I was a superintendent for a general contractor, actually, for about 10 years, working primarily in the Florida and Colorado area. I'm also joined here today with Brian Haynes.
Thank you so much. My name is Brian Haynes. I'm the Vice President of Strategy for Asset-Centric at Kahua. I've been helping to build solutions to optimize the building lifecycle from a technology standpoint for more than 30 years. That included time at Autodesk, FM Systems, and most recently Johnson Controls. I actually began my career as a maintenance technician in some pretty complex facilities, then moved into facilities management and space and occupancy planning, and really worked on a lot of capital projects early in my career. And today we're going to talk about a solution that Kahua has that addresses a lot of the frustrations that I dealt with then that have carried themselves through the history of the relationship between construction and operations. And that's what we're going to talk about today when we talk about eliminating the project after the project with Kahua's ACPM, or Asset-Centric Project Management Solution. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to spend about 20 minutes just going through some slides and explaining to you the problem that we're trying to solve, and then I'm going to hand it over, and we're going to see a very rich demonstration, which I think you're going to find very, very exciting. So let me go ahead and get started. So Kahua is a PMIS, or Project Management Information System platform. It's the only construction management platform built to adapt to how teams actually manage capital work. It's an amazingly flexible solution. It's one of the big reasons why I wanted to join Kahua, because we're able to adapt, iterate, develop, and create at an enormous pace to help our clients meet the challenging needs of managing capital projects today and into tomorrow. So really excited to introduce part of that platform today. We're going to be showing you asset-centric project management. We'll also be touching upon a couple of other applications in our product, like our facilities condition assessment. But like I said, without further ado, I'll go ahead and just jump right into it. So asset-centric project management, we call it the golden thread of data. Often you'll hear things like the golden source of information, but this is a lot more powerful than that. We're able to bridge design, construction, and operations and create a single source of truth for asset information from the first time you think about it all the way through to the time that you're in operations throughout the entire life cycle of a specific asset. And when I talk about assets, I want to be clear. It could be infrastructure, it could be linear assets, it could be buildings, it could be physical components that are installed within those facilities. All of those things we consider to be assets and systems within our capital projects. So what does this address? The high cost of business as usual. We have discovered, and there's been a lot of research, and you'll notice that this research has been conducted over time, that 96% of the data collected during capital projects, during especially the construction to turnover phase, actually goes unused. And I'm actually not surprised by that number, because as I was saying earlier in my career, I managed taking several large construction projects that have been completed into operations at a very large Research One university here in the US. And often as a facilities and operations team, we would get very little information. It wasn't that the contractor wasn't trying, it's just that the expectation for how that data was turned over, how it was structured, really didn't meet what we needed to effectively operate those facilities over time. Also, 90% of data collected is unstructured. It's stuffed into PDFs and thumb drives and very difficult to actually get a lot of use out of it. So we've grown to accept broken handovers. And the handover is obviously that process between construction and commissioning to when operations actually happens. We call that the handover gap. And broken handovers don't end at delivery. They compound into operational risk, cost, and lost value for years. It's really what we call the project after the project. Often, when a contractor and subcontractors are contracted to build a facility, there's certain expectations provided in that contract that says you will provide documentation that meets our need for operations, but it's often not very specific and difficult for the construction teams to actually get that into a structured format. So we end up getting a lot of PDFs and thumb drives, and as I was saying earlier, which really means once we go into operations, we're not prepared. We actually don't know often exactly what we have, and it takes a very long time to essentially do what we call the project after the project, and that is going into the facility that we just took control over, and sometimes 6 months to a year, maybe even longer, 2%, up to 4% of the construction value is often spent again trying to gather information so that we can effectively operate. And so we believe that we've grown to accept those broken handovers. So what we've created is something called asset-centric project management. On the left, we've got the current way that most projects have been operated throughout my entire career, and most of the projects that are actually happening right now are done in this same manner. Data is collected at the end. It's unstructured. The contractor's rushing to sort of get the information into a format to meet the contractual obligations, and often it's just sort of handed over and not that usable. So we want to make this process really easy. We want to make it a single click process. How do you take information like submittals, meeting notes, change orders, and attach those to assets as we collect that information? And I'm going to talk a lot about that today, and we're going to demonstrate that to you, which is one continuous data thread from design to operations. That's what we call asset-centric project management, and it's the Kahua way and what we're talking about today. So the data hunt, the project after the project, what gets created, all of these amazing artifacts on the left of this slide is what gets created every time there's a capital project that's occurring. It could be base building design and construction. It could be a renovation retrofit. It could be small. It could be large. It could be $1 million. It could be $1 billion project. All of this documentation is typically created and often not used once a facility is in operations, and it's very difficult to get that information. So what gets delivered are a stack of documents, unusable data, missing data, multiple thumb drives. I was just telling someone yesterday, we still get thumb drives and we throw them in a drawer. The last two companies that I've worked for, Johnson Controls and Kahua, we're not even allowed to put a thumb drive into our laptops because of security issues. So that's another broken process. So getting that information is actually not very easy. So Bert Altman, a guy I really am growing to enjoy working with, is a leader at Procon Consulting. And he has been helping us not only create additional solutions for Kahua, but has been working with owners for more than 20 years. And he's just amazed at how much time owners spend after commissioning, after handover, after the doors open, recreating the will, gathering information that was actually known and created during the construction process, but was never turned over in a way that really optimized day one of operations. Getting data about assets as they're installed into a CMMS has been extremely difficult. Imagine this. We've got a facility. It's, we're not too far from operating, maybe 6 months from operating. We're commissioning. We've got very expensive building automation system equipment up and running. And if you don't meet the contractual needs in the warranty to make sure that you honor your warranty, you could invalidate a $10 million piece of equipment before you ever take it into operations. And that is a typical problem that owners are dealing with every single day as they move into that operational phase. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the asset journey and operational readiness. Think of it this way. As we start to design a facility or even think about design, we have the opportunity to actually begin to collect information about what's going to go into that facility. And as those pieces of equipment, the furniture, fixtures, etc., everything that goes into that facility, everything that goes into that infrastructure, as it goes through plan, design, procure and acquire, fabricate and ship, all the way through the retirement of that asset, through the asset-centric project management methodology that we have created, you're able to simply attach that information through a single click or using AI, we're going to talk about that today, to make that information available to our asset registry, which really then allows you to take that information downstream in a way that's incredibly robust. Imagine this, 5 years after a very complex facility goes into operation, perhaps it's a gas-fired power plant, and the people who were involved in constructing that plant, they've retired. They've aged out, they've moved on, maybe they've gone to other companies. How do you know when you walk into that facility and you run into a condition that may seem a little bit odd? Why did they do it that way? What if you could just simply roll back and look? Maybe they made that change because of a compliance issue. Maybe there wasn't enough space. Maybe there was an interesting change order that came in. Maybe there was COVID. I mean, there were a lot of things that could have affected why we did things. And that information is massively valuable to operators as we go through the life cycle of these facilities. And once that information is structured and complete, and we're going to talk about that when we do the demo, we're going to show you our dashboards and how you sort of see that green, red, yellow. Do I have it all? Do I not? Am I missing information? Once that information is structured and complete, single click, you can send that information out to a turnover package, or even more effectively, directly into things like CMMS solutions, such as IBM Maximo, which many of our clients use. You can send it to Esri. We could take design inputs from Revit, from BIM, from digital twins, and that information flows to the Kahua asset-centric platform. We're able to take those RFIs, submittals, drawings, punch lists, analytics, all of that, and then feed that data seamlessly to downstream solutions that are required to help you operate your facilities more effectively. And that includes things like getting ready for your master plans, your capital planning, by having inputs from facility condition assessment flowed directly into your facility master plan, scenario planning, your inspections, your commissioning, work orders, all of that seamlessly as part of a complete platform. I'm pretty excited about it because it's been the missing ingredient for my entire career. I worked for years, since 2015, for the National Institute of Building Science as the co-chair of the COBE standard. And that standard's beautiful, but that standard without methodology means it's very difficult to get that information into a spreadsheet or some sort of form that's able to easily turn over. What if every single person who touches asset information during the design, engineering, and construction process could contribute to that overall structured data at the end? And that's what we're talking about. It's also a large amount of information, and we've got a really beautiful analytics capability that allows us to be able to unlock that last asset data for better insights and decisions, helping you improve portfolio risk management, optimizing material supply, chain decision-making, and from wrench turners to strategic asset consultants, everybody can have access to this information. We've got a really beautiful turnover process, what we call the dynamic handover, which expedites operational readiness. And you can see sort of a scorecard. We're going to show this in the demonstration, so I'm not going to talk about this too much. And really, that allows us to be able to do dynamic data collection, which really allows you to drive proactive portfolio management. You're not getting the information that you need to operate 2 years after you've taken over the facility. That really leads to a lot of inefficiencies. And often building owners find out about issues or find out about the equipment that they have in their facility the first time it breaks. That's way too late. And there's a lot of value in what we're talking about today through our asset-centric project management. We're going to do a demo, but right now, Kahua is moving at the speed of AI. We're able to create, produce, deliver, and iterate on new functionality faster than I've ever been able to see in my career. We're introducing AI-generated capabilities at a rate that's unprecedented in our industry. And I'm going to touch upon some of those things that we're working on because they're going to be delivered by the time you see your demo, after this demo. If you call us up and you say, I'd like to know more, I'd like to find out more information, a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about is actually going to be out there because a lot of the stuff is coming this week and coming over the next few months. And I want to just go ahead and touch upon those because I don't want you to miss the opportunity to see some of the great things that we're working on. Some of them are data quality with asset components. And what I mean by asset components is, let's say you've got a very large piece of equipment, maybe it's an air handling unit, maybe it's a chiller. Inside of that asset, there are a lot of components or subcomponents. We're adding the ability to be able to do that, and we're adding the ability to be able to track all of those components inside of our asset management capability. And that's something that's coming literally Friday. All right. And this allows us to be able to do really amazing things. So we've now got support for third-party barcodes. So if I walk up to a piece of equipment and you've already got a barcoding solution in place, which many of our clients do, you don't want to use Kahua's native QR code capability. You want to use your existing barcodes. Fine. We've got support for that now. Imagine walking up to a room, scanning the barcode maybe on the inside of the door jamb, and finding out all of the assets that are installed in that space. Maybe you're going to do a facility condition assessment and you want to find out what piece of equipment I'm looking at. Boom, barcode, scan it, and you've got it. So now we've got the ability to support third-party barcoding solutions. Also, I think this one's amazing. This is the power of AI being realized, the ability to be able to do AI-powered data integrity. We've got a very cool new capability that allows you, and we're going to demonstrate this, allows you to be able to take a quick photo of a nameplate, and the AI automatically extracts all of that information from the nameplate on a piece of equipment and inserts it into our asset record. We're taking that one step further now. We're able to take that information and match it against what your submittal says. So if the submittal says it's supposed to be a Trane air handler, and for some reason when you scan it, it says it's Carrier or Johnson Controls, something went wrong, and we need to find out what that may be. So we're doing data validation and also allowing you to be able to do really quickly audit to make sure that you're actually getting what was specified and what came in the submittal packages. We're allowed to, right now, we've already got a project handover capability, which is beautiful in asset-centric project management, but we're making it even more powerful, streamlining project handovers. Whenever you get done one of your packages, you can simply just go ahead and automate the process of sending that out. We've got automated distribution, project integrity, so we can once again run a check to make sure everything that was promised is being delivered. And this allows us to be able to optimize efficiency. This is a new, more improved, really faster project handover, a little bit simpler to use than what we currently have. And I'm really excited about this one. We're also adding the ability for you to be able to specify spare parts required as part of the turnover and delivery of a facility. Often, spare parts are required to be had on hand. You can see spare parts tracked in standards such as Kobe, and often this is information that the owner needs to be able to operate effectively on day one. In other words, I've got all of this equipment coming over, and as soon as I take ownership, we need to start performing our maintenance procedures, and that maintenance may require tools and parts and filters and things like that, and we want to be able to have those on hand. So we're now going to be able to track maintenance requirements, in other words, maintenance procedures and spare parts, so that the contractor, general contractor, the subcontractors, and any specialists you have can help you build that database. So day one of operations, you've got everything you need for your maintenance programs. We have also are working on asset dependency tracking. I'm really excited about this one so that we can see upstream, downstream impacts of losing a piece of equipment, or maybe we need to turn something off because we need to perform maintenance on it. You're going to be able to click on it, and you're going to see upstream, downstream, what this piece of equipment feeds and what it needs for operations. This is really amazing because it allows us to provide safety safeguards. So in other words, I'm going to turn off a piece of equipment. Maybe that's critical. Maybe it's in a healthcare setting. I don't want to affect my patient rooms. You can actually see that. You're able to also do impact analysis. Perhaps I lost a piece of critical equipment. Maybe it failed. Maybe there was a storm. Who knows what that may be. But being able to see those asset dependencies is something that's amazingly powerful and something that we've got coming very, very soon. So that's what we've got coming now, and I'm covering that because it's not only going to be most of this available this week, it's going to be available within the coming weeks, all of the things that I talked about today. And what I'm going to do now, because listening and hearing about it is really second to seeing it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over, and we're going to do a demo of our solution so you can see the power of asset-centric project management. So over to you. Let's do the demo.
All right. Thanks, Brian. So in this demo, we're going to be focusing on a critical challenge in project delivery, how we capture and deliver asset information. Now, too often, asset data is collected at the very end of a project. It's rushed, it's incomplete, it's difficult for operation teams to actually use. Well, Kahua's asset-centric project management approach changes that by capturing and organizing asset data throughout the life cycle of the project. So what you deliver at closeout is complete, it's structured, and it's ready for operations use from day one. So before getting too far, I just want to point out Kahua is a very versatile platform. We're going to be looking at some out-of-the-box functionality today, but if your organization has unique workflows or processes, we can configure and even customize the platform to directly meet those requirements in most cases. So if you haven't seen Kahua before, this is our home screen. From my home screen, I can see a view of some of my favorited projects. If I want to begin working in any of these, I simply have to click on them. We're going to be working in the Beaches Community Center renovation project today. Also from my home screen, I can see my open tasks and unread messages. Now this is part of what makes Kahua a very collaborative platform. My tasks are all the ball and court items that have been assigned to me across all the projects that I'm working in. So as a user, I'm really able to just come to one place and see essentially my entire to-do list. So this could be a response needed for an RFI or a submittal. It can be an approval for a work order that I need to complete. Messages are just going to be communication that has been sent to me within the platform. So I can also push Outlook emails or Gmail emails from my email browser into Kahua if needed. From here, I can also see my launch bar or menu bar. The launch bar is going to show me my pinned Kahua applications. An app for us is just a business process. It's a tool. It's a way of doing something within the system. So you can see I have a variety of applications here. On the doc management side of things, an application could be something like an RFI, a submittal, a daily report. On the asset side of things, it may be my asset manager, an asset definition. You're going to have full control over who can see and access which of these applications are shown in the system, and each app itself has a permission structure that can be set up as needed. So from my launch bar, I'm going to jump into one of the core applications involved in the asset-centric project management process, and that's submittals. So in here, I can see a list of my submittals, and each item from my submittal list can be tied directly to both a location and a specific asset. So for example, if I open up this exhaust fan O&M warranty submittal, I can see that it's already been tagged accordingly. We have a location tag as well as an asset tag up at the top. Within my submittals app, I can push this through a workflow, so I can have my vendors or contractors upload product data or any kind of submittal information I may request. It can then be submitted to my QC team or my design team to review. And any time throughout those workflows or that process, I can press this Update Asset button up here at the top. Because we have this submittal linked to this exhaust fan asset, I can see the open attributes for this asset that haven't been filled out yet. So as I'm getting information through my submittals, I can enter them in directly here. I can also press Show All at the top, and I can see the ones that have been input as well. The key point here is that asset data isn't being collected at only the end of the project. It's being built progressively as part of just standard workflows in the system. And submittals is really just only one way to capture that data. Kahua also gives you the flexibility in how information like these asset attributes come into the system. So I can enter it in directly like we are doing here, but I can also integrate with my existing CMMS system. I could pull it in from a BIM model if I have data there. I can even capture it in the field using mobile tools, which we'll look at here in a second. So if I navigate directly to the asset record, I can do that by clicking directly on the tag. You'll notice we're no longer in the submittals application, we're in the asset manager application. I can see that in Kahua, each asset has a centralized record that contains its attributes, documentation, and full history. If I scroll down, you can see the attributes here, and these attributes are completely configurable. So I can define exactly what information I need, and it's all going to be dependent on the asset and the asset type itself. So this exhaust fan, we might require something like a serial number, dimensions, installation data. But with something like pavement or guardrails or even paint on walls, it's going to be an entirely different set of attributes. So these asset attribute templates can be standardized, they can be reused, and it gives you consistency, but also still allows flexibility within my projects. So we mentioned a little bit earlier that this information can come in a variety of different ways. We showed how it can be entered in through the submittals application. You may have also noticed up at the top, we have this scan nameplate to autofill section here. So maybe we've captured the majority of our attributes through that submittal process, but there's some of these blank ones that we're not going to be able to enter until we have that asset installed in place and we're able to see that asset nameplate. So to illustrate how this works, I'm going to jump to a quick video here. This is going to be shown from Kahua's mobile application. From the mobile interface, I'm pressing Scan Nameplate to Autofill. I'll snap a quick picture of that asset nameplate. And as that photo is uploaded, the information in the nameplate is going to be extracted from that photo. So I'm going to have the opportunity to review that information and confirm that it's all correct. And once it's confirmed that all the attributes that are missing are going to be pushed into the system. You'll also notice that that attribute data tag is going to be linked as a photo now. It's going to be saved in my media section, so I'll be able to reference it later on down the road if I ever need to. You can realize the value of this when you have these serial numbers or information on this nameplate that are 12 to 20 digits. It's right for errors or not being input correctly, but being able to just quickly snap a picture and have that flow seamlessly into the Kahua platform is just a very nice feature to have. So beyond attributes, on the asset record, I can also see things like current condition. This can be tracked through our facility condition assessments app or the inspections app itself. I can track things in here like total repair costs, installation date, remaining life. When I go into this asset record, I'm always going to be able to see the latest and current condition of the asset. The media section will contain any kind of photos of the asset. If you scan a nameplate, it'll be saved here as well. The link documents is going to show any related records to this asset. So we can see the submittal that we navigated here from. I can also see that this exhaust fan was on an RFI and was also on a punch list. So being able to have this audible, trackable trail for my asset record is really handy. At the end of a project or maybe months after an asset or a building has been turned over, I'm having trouble with this exhaust fan. I can look back and see, hey, we were having the same issue. It was documented on a punch list. Maybe it was never installed correctly to begin with. So I can reach out to my contractor and vendor or have them corrected accordingly. Continuing down, I have a references section where I can attach any kind of maintenance logs or additional reference materials. I have a place where I can scope out any kind of required submittals. So if for all my exhaust fans, I want the same 4 or 5 submittals to be uploaded, I can clarify that here. And then I have a written condition history. So this is going to show me, anytime the condition of this asset was inspected or observed, it's going to be tracked here, just giving me that traceability as needed. So this creates that traceable record. If an issue ever comes up after handover, you're not guessing. I can trace it back to installation, review related documents, and understand exactly what happened throughout the life cycle of the asset. Once all this key information is collected, Kahua can seamlessly be synced to your CMMS. Kahua is an IBM Maximo partner, and our integration with Maximo illustrates how easy this process can be. So I'm going to jump back up here to the top and flip over to this video showing that IBM Maximo integration. You'll notice at the top I have a Sent to Maximo button. Pressing that will push this information into Maximo. And what we're going to look at here is how these attributes for air handling unit 001 can be pushed very seamlessly into Maximo. So once I press that button, it's going to push that info. I'll now have saved in the Sent to Maximo section whether it has been and the date that that information was sent. And if we jump into Maximo now and search for that air handling unit 1, it's going to pull up the asset. I can see any kind of information that was previously housed in Kahua, now pushed into Maximo. Things like warranty start date, voltage, power rating, model number. It's all there for me. One other attribute you'll see at the bottom there is the URL. You may notice that wasn't one of the attributes that we were documenting in Kahua, but what it is a direct link to where that asset is saved and recorded within Kahua. So if I'm only working in IBM Maximo, want to find out, hey, where's this information coming from? How can I quickly link to the place that it originated? It's very easy to just click that hyperlink there and to take me into the Kahua platform. All right, so I'm going to jump back over into Kahua here. So we have this asset record here. I think now it's important to understand how multiple assets are organized within the system. So if I exit out of this asset record here, you can see a list of all of my individual assets. But the asset taxonomy in Kahua is broken down into kind of like a hierarchical structure here. We have systems, we have types, and then we have assets. So systems is an overarching system. So think something like HVAC. It's made up of multiple components, and it can be can span a whole project or building or location. Within systems, I have my individual types. So those could be air handling units, exhaust fans, doors. And then underneath types, I have my individual installed in place assets. So it would be AHU1, AHU2, AHU3. So as you travel down this hierarchy, you kind of get smaller and smaller in scope. And at each level of this hierarchy, I can collect attribute information. So if I navigate to types here, and we look at the air handling unit type, you'll notice I have a separate set of attributes. So this could be something like model number. If I scroll down, I can see all the individual installed in place assets of this type. And it's very easy to navigate to the installed in place assets if I just simply click on them. So you'll notice when I go to the air handling unit 40017, the attributes here are different than what we were collecting at the type level. So something like instead of a model number at the asset level, we're collecting data like serial number. This structure allows you to organize and scale asset data across projects and portfolios in a way that remains both flexible and consistent. So we started collecting all this data. The next question becomes, how do I monitor and manage it? How do I stay organized? This is where Kahua's analytic tools come into place. So I'm going to navigate to our analytics app. And what this is Kahua Analytics. This is Microsoft Power BI embedded in the platform. I don't need a separate Power BI license to leverage these dashboards, and I also don't need to leave Kahua to view them. And any data point within the platform can be pushed and visualized in these dashboards. So with analytics, I can see all of my asset attributes organized across dimensions like location, asset type, and individual asset. More importantly, I can track completeness. I can see what percentage of my required data has been collected, what's missing, and where the gaps are. And I think this really becomes powerful during project execution. So if a vendor, for example, is billing at maybe 90%, but the data here shows, hey, we're only at 81% complete for this location, I can see that there's an immediate gap in this specific area. This gives me leverage to ensure that data collection stays aligned with project progress. So instead of waiting until the end and receiving just a binder full of incomplete information, I'm going to know throughout the duration of the project at all times where we are in this asset attribute collection process. If I jump over to the status of data collection dashboard, I think this does a really good job of showing similar capabilities here. Again, it's going to be very apparent to me if I go through these type attributes and asset attributes. What have we collected? Obviously marked with a check, and what are we missing? Indicated with an X here. All this data is hyperlinked to where it's stored and referenced in Kahua. So if I want to quickly jump to this attribute and log it or put in the correct information, it's very easy to do so. So once your data is complete, the value of Kahua's asset-centric project management system extends well beyond just simple project delivery. If I jump to this replacement planning dashboard here, I can see that we're leveraging data that we've already collected. I can track key lifecycle metrics like installation dates, warranty periods, and expected lifespans in here. From here, I can then visualize upcoming replacements across various buildings, campuses, my entire portfolio. This helps identify critical systems that may require attention in the next few years and allows me to just plan accordingly for any big costs or upcoming replacements. I can also take this a step further by pressing this Send Assets to Scenario Planning. This takes my assets in this dashboard into the scenario planning application over here, and it allows me to run what if scenarios to model capital planning decisions. So if you have maybe a fixed budget coming up in the upcoming year or two, I can evaluate different approaches to determine which assets to prioritize for replacement there. In addition, Kahua also includes facility condition assessment capabilities. I can log deficiencies, track asset condition over time. I can tie that information directly into my projected capital spend. And again, this information is broken down by location as well as total repair costs. With all our dashboards, I can use the embedded Power BI filters to really slice and dice this info. So if I wanted to sort this by just a specific deficiency type, say corrosion here, for example, you notice the rest of the widgets are going to filter down based off of the selection there. So this really gives me a continuous feedback loop from construction into operations and long-term planning. So instead of that asset data being something that you just hand over and forget, it becomes active, living. It's part of how you manage your facilities. So the last thing I want to look at here from this analytics tool is the actual facility condition assessments app. And this dashboard, I think, does a good job of visualizing that data, but how do you perform a facility condition assessment in Kahua? To do that, I'm going to jump over to the facility condition assessments app. In here, I can see a log view of the facility condition assessments that have been performed over the last year or so. To perform a new one, all I have to do is simply press New up here at the top. I can input various details such as location, inspector. I can list facility deficiencies. This is going to be deficiencies for the overarching location. And then scrolling down, I have my asset section. So I can just go and insert various assets as needed. I can tag it to a location or inspector and go ahead and pull in these assets as well. If I selected a location, it would filter these down so that I'm only selecting assets in that location. But because I left it blank, I can see assets across my whole domain. And then if I click this View Details section here, I'm going to get this tab where I can log any additional data or status for this asset. So things like priority, remaining life, planning end date, and various deficiencies and media if needed. So again, I think this lends to the stance of, hey, this is a living, breathing document. It's going to be there for you throughout the duration and life cycle of the asset. And it makes it something a little bit more useful than perhaps a binder that sits on a shelf or a thumb drive with data that is a pain to access. So today we walked through how Kahua approaches asset-centric project management. We also looked at how that data extends beyond project delivery into ongoing operations, supporting things like replacement planning, scenario modeling, and facility condition assessments. The goal is simple. Instead of handing over fragmented information at the end of a project, you're delivering a complete connected data set that's immediately usable. If your team has experienced the challenges of rushed closeouts or incomplete handovers, this approach helps eliminate that gap and creates a much smoother transition from construction into operations. And with that, Brian and I are going to open it up for Q&A with the remaining time. There's a Q&A box embedded in the webinar, so feel free to drop any questions that you may have in there.
Davis, I'm going to go ahead and take this question that came up. It says, does this software work with TriRiga? The answer is yes. Kahua is a certified IBM silver level partner. We created that partnership a little less than a year ago. It's an exciting partnership. Many of us are trained very deeply on those solutions. And yes, we absolutely can work with that. Yeah, someone said earlier, I'll go ahead and read this one too, because I think it really is important, Davis. Someone says, I can't even get macros in Excel past security software clearances. Has this program been vetted by security? I will say, and maybe you can add some additional color there, but we take security incredibly seriously. We're certified at the highest levels. We're certified for FedRAMP, SOC 2, and dozens of other security certifications were used by dozens of government agencies, including the Army Corps, Department of War, and more. So obviously, they've got security requirements at the highest level, and it's something that is a natural component of our platform. Davis, I don't know if you have anything that you want to add to that, but it's something we take quite seriously.
I would definitely agree. I think security is why many customers choose Kahua. It's one of our biggest strengths, and I think our existing customers is a testament to that.
Yeah, terrific. Let's see what else we have here. It's just a couple of questions. Yeah, there's one here. I'm just going to head and talk about this capability. So we've got a capability built into Kahua. Davis, I don't think you showed the AI assist feature, but it is a capability that's making its way through our entire platform. What that does, in a lot of ways, is allows you to have kind of natural language ability to be able to interact with the information that you're looking at. It's also through our AI assist allowing us to do things such as scan drawings and extract information automatically, even if it's a PDF file. And those capabilities you're going to start to see a lot more often within our platform as we continue to build out our new AI capabilities. One of the examples or one of the questions was around, can you automatically extract submittal information from a PDF? That's something that is on our list of things to do because it's something that's a very high value activity, and it's something that we will be doing. So imagine being able to just upload that PDF. We'll submit. We'll extract the submittal information from inside the PDF and auto populate the submittal. Currently, that's a little bit more manual, and you've got to do some of that cutting and pasting of that information. But that's something that the AI system is going to be able to allow us to do in the not so distant future. I don't see any other questions in the system that we haven't answered. Anything else from you, Davis?
No, I don't think so.
So we'll just hang out here for another minute and see if there are questions or two. We really appreciate all of you participating today. It's been pretty fun. I'd love to talk about this. It solves a problem that I've been waiting for most of my career, and that is the ability to be able to streamline the turnover process by providing really rich operational data from day one of a facility's and before, even as frankly, even before, because a lot of facilities begin to operate long before the doors open, especially bigger, more complex facilities. A lot of things are happening, and asset-centric project management gives us an opportunity to be able to address that now and create a true asset lifecycle. It's not asset. We think about the asset, then we break the process, and later on we gather information about the asset. This is the whole enchilada. It's really everything about this built into the way that we handle asset information from the first time someone thinks about it, collecting information, writing their specifications, all the way through operational life cycle of the facility, which in the US and broader is typically more than 25 years. So the construction project may be 12 to 24 months. Operations are typically much, much longer. So really providing a lot of value. Let's see.
I do see one question, Brian. Can you tell us a customer using this today? The Mayo Clinic is one that comes to mind for me.
Yeah, Mayo, Enbridge, one of the largest energy, let's say, transportation companies in North America is another big one using it. Lots of government agencies are using it. There's a lot of clients using asset-centric project management. We've got a lot of success stories that we can share with you, and we'd be more than happy to do that. If you want to reach out to us, we'll provide you with a list of those reference accounts. With that, I think we're ready to wrap up.
I think we have a couple of other questions, Brian, in the chat. It looks like, does this software work with P6 scheduling?
You want to take that, Davis?
Yes. So Kahua has a few scheduling tools within the platform. couple of them integrate directly with P6. The way that works is I can upload a P6 schedule. It extracts that data from P6 and visualizes it in the platform. And from there, I can link it to other various places within the system. So scheduling probably deserves its own deep dive, but yes, the answer is we can link with P6, also a Microsoft project.
And then there was another question just about integrations in general. So you had mentioned IBM. Are there other asset management systems that you guys connect with?
Yeah, we've done a number of them already. Maximo is probably the most common. We've also done Nuvolo, we've done AIM, AssetWorks. But if that target solution, that CMMS or enterprise asset management solution has an API that we can access and it's secure, we're probably going to be able to integrate with that quite easily. We've also integrated with large platforms like Esri. We're an Esri certified partner and have integrated with a number of Autodesk solutions as well. So integration is kind of core to the platform, the Kahua platform. So I answer that confidently. If it's a solution that we've not integrated with and it's got an API, we're going to be able to do that pretty easily.
Fantastic. And it looks like there was one more in the chat that just came through. It says, can QA reports interface with P6?
Good question. Right now, we're only able to link P6 files to a handful of applications within the system. We probably have to examine what that linkage needs to be related to QA reports. But right now, that functionality isn't there. It may be coming shortly.
Great. Anything else, Ashley?
I think we are all set. I think we've answered any. And if anyone has any follow-up questions, more than happy to answer after this webinar as well.
Great. Thank you so much. I've really had fun. I love talking about this because I understand its value and I'm excited about it. So once again, I'm Brian Haynes, VP of Strategy for Asset Centric. And Davis?
I'm Davis Ferguson, Solutions Consultant at Kahua. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both so much for coming today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.